The evening air in New York City was sharp with the sting of late autumn, and the crowds moved with their usual hurry, eyes glued to phones or fixed on the ground. Amid the noise of vendors, honking cars, and the screech of subway trains, a small girl sat alone at the subway entrance. She couldn't have been more than 12, her sweater far too thin for the cold. A piece of cardboard rested in front of her with messy handwriting. "Can I play for food?" Most ignored her. A few paused only to smirk or shake their heads. A group of teenagers passed, their laughter loud as one of them pointed at the girl. "Play for food? What's she gonna do, bang on buckets?" He jeered, earning chuckles from his friends. An older woman hurried by, muttering, "Poor thing," but still didn't stop. The girl pulled her knees to her chest, her sign trembling in the breeze. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, but she didn't cry. Instead, her eyes wandered to an old upright piano shoved against a nearby wall, abandoned by a street musician who hadn't returned. For a moment she hesitated, biting her lip as if questioning whether she had the right to touch it. The crowd continued rushing, blind to her, yet the piano seemed to call out like an old friend. Gathering courage, she pushed herself up and shuffled over, her thin fingers brushing the cold, chipped keys. She closed her eyes, whispered something under her breath, maybe a prayer, maybe a memory, and pressed down. A single hesitant note echoed, barely noticed in the chaos, but it was enough to anchor her courage. Then, with hands steadier than expected, she began to play. The melody started soft, fragile like glass, but within seconds it grew fuller, blooming into something breathtaking. Notes cascaded through the station like waves, weaving together with rhythm and grace that no one expected. Conversations faltered, footsteps slowed, and commuters who had been rushing to catch trains turned their heads. The sound seemed to soften the hard edges of the city, rising above the noise of traffic and chatter, creating a bubble of silence where only her music lived. The same teenagers who had mocked her stood frozen, their laughter gone. A businessman paused, lowering his phone to watch with wide eyes. A woman carrying groceries set her bags down, her face softening with surprise. Slowly, a crowd began to form, drawn in by the impossibility of such beauty from a girl who looked like she had nothing. Her small body swayed with the music, her eyes half closed, as if the piano itself had swallowed her whole. For the first time that day, she wasn't invisible. Applause broke out before she even realized she had finished. The homeless girl lifted her hands from the keys, startled by the sound. Coins clinked onto the cardboard sign, then bills, tossed by strangers who moments earlier wouldn't spare her a glance. "She's incredible," someone whispered, and the words spread like fire. A man with a video camera crouched to capture her, his lens focused on every movement of her fingers. The girl's cheeks flushed, not from pride but from disbelief. Was this really happening? For the first time in so long, she felt seen, not pitied. Among the crowd was a middle-aged woman with sharp eyes and a warm smile. She leaned on her cane and waited until the noise quieted before stepping forward. "What's your name, sweetheart?" she asked. The girl hesitated, clutching the edge of her sweater. "Emma," she whispered. The woman nodded. "Emma, you don't just play. You tell stories with those keys. My late husband was a pianist, and I haven't heard anyone play like that since him." Her voice trembled, and the crowd listened, moved by both Emma's talent and her struggle. The woman wasn't just anyone. She was the director of a local music conservatory, though Emma didn't know it yet. She placed her hand on the girl's shoulder and said, "Would you come with me? You deserve more than cold streets." Emma's eyes darted nervously, but something in the woman's tone felt safe, like a doorway opening to a life she never imagined. Around her, people were murmuring with encouragement, their faces no longer strangers but allies. Emma nodded, tears threatening to spill. That night, Emma wasn't left to sleep under the subway stairs. She stayed in a warm guest room, with blankets that smelled of lavender and safety. The woman, whose name was Margaret, promised to help her find stability and proper training. In the days that followed, Emma's story spread online. Someone had posted the video of her subway performance. Millions watched, sharing comments like, "She's a genius," And give her a piano, she'll change the world. The girl who once begged with cardboard was suddenly the city's hidden treasure. Months later, Emma walked onto a stage under bright lights, no longer in torn clothes, but in a simple white dress. The audience waited silently, every seat filled. She sat at a gleaming black grand piano, her fingers trembling not from hunger, but from anticipation. As she played, the same breathtaking music filled the hall, echoing through every soul present. This time, her playing wasn't just for survival. It was for hope, for dreams, and for every child who had ever felt unseen. Emma, the homeless girl, was now a prodigy the world would never forget.